Hi, and welcome everybody. My name is Shawn Thompson. I'm a spiritual counselor and psychic medium, owner of Inner Healing. Today, I have an amazing guest that I want to introduce because I think she has a lot of value and insight and wisdom to share on our topic today, which is about finding purpose after loss. Let me introduce Judy Ben-Asher. Thank you for being here today. You are an expert in DNA integration, and you've had your own experience in life, which you're going to share with us today, as well as working with other people who have been through an experience, a trauma-based experience that kind of shatters what their world once was. So what we're going to be talking about is finding purpose after loss. I have been asked by many to do a masterclass on this subject, which I'm going to do. This is kind of the trailer for that masterclass. And what it's about is understanding that you can find purpose in your pain. And purpose is something very interesting. It's not just something that shows up out of the blue that you can Google, that you can go to Walmart or Amazon, right, and order it. It is something that life experience just reveals and delivers in its own time. And usually a loss, and that can be loss of a divorce, a medical diagnosis where you lose your ability to walk or to experience life the way that you want. It can be loss related to a loved one, which is the ultimate kind of loss for sure. But purpose as it relates to loss can really be discovered through the catalyst of the event in and of itself. And life will kind of give you breadcrumbs along the way. And then usually a spiritual storm happens, like loss of a loved one or a divorce or diagnosis of cancer. And it slowly reveals what you're here for. And you want to be ready for that. But let me tell you this, right, Judy, you'll never miss the boat on what your purpose is. Your spirit just simply won't allow you.
Right.
It'll give you opportunities along the way to definitely say, are you ready to step into living life on purpose? And you absolutely have the option to say, nope, definitely not ready for that. Or yes, I'm in it to win it. Let's go.
Yes.
So I want to jump into your story because your story is powerful. It's transforming. It's something that people need to hear, and it ultimately is part of your life purpose. And so I want to highlight how losing loved ones in your life can be a catalyst to you living on purpose. So tell me a little bit about the losses that you've experienced in your life that ultimately led to you being where you're at right now.
Well, it's interesting. Even when I was born, I was born the fifth child, and our oldest sibling, Stephen, had passed from crib death. So he had died at 7 months old before I was born. And had he lived, I don't know that I would have been born. But that even is a catalyst for everything that happened in my life, because my parents raised us in such a specific way with very intentional living, because they had already had a death in the family. And then I lost a sister in a helicopter crash. She was a medevac nurse. And then I lost my mom to ovarian cancer, and I lost my birth dad, biological dad, to a heart attack. So I've had, and several friends and two best friends along the way. So I've had quite a bit of.
You've had a tremendous amount of loss in your life.
Yeah.
Experientially, you would be an expert in loss.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So when we talk about purpose and finding purpose through your pain, finding purpose after loss, there are definitely two categories that you would experience in the grieving process. One, having a very definitive example of what your purpose is. When you're grieving, you have a different purpose than when you have healed and moved into acceptance and you're ready to
Mhm.
move forward, and what that purpose looks like. And that's what this masterclass is going to help you determine. What stage of finding purpose are you in? Are you in the grieving stage and finding purpose within yourself? Or are you in the healing stage and finding purpose within your life on the bigger picture? And so let's talk about how all the loss that you've experienced, how that was a catalyst even before you went through specific primary losses,
Yeah.
the breadcrumbs that were kind of laid out that eventually divulged themselves in the experience of trauma, which we'll get into, which you're an expert in, of how that actually defines your life purpose. So let's kind of rewind and go back to the beginning of the picture of how you kind of saw it fall into place. Share with us.
Okay. Um, I guess from birth, I never felt like I fit. I never fit in. I was always the black sheep. I didn't just look different, I felt different. I reacted different. I didn't want the same things. I just felt very other in my family.
Mhm.
And I had black hair and green eyes as a baby. And my oldest sister is a redhead with blue eyes. I had a sister with blonde hair and blue eyes. She was the one killed in a helicopter crash. My
Okay.
brother has brown hair and blue eyes. And I've got black hair and green eyes and olive skin. And we all look like relatives, right? And it made me such a seeker,
Right. It
but
was just a drive in you that you could
yeah,
feel, that a calling, if you will, but you couldn't place it yet.
yeah. But the seeking, I never really let go. I've always been curious and had an extraordinarily curious appetite for everything, from trying to figure out nutrition and how the body works and how our brain works and
Mhm.
why we say the
Seeking the
thing.
truth of things. You're a truth
Yeah,
seeker.
yeah. I
It's who you
really,
are.
yeah. I can't put it down, and I want to know and I want to understand and I want to kind of get to the bottom of things. And um, so yeah, so that helps me really get to where I am today. But those breadcrumbs, as you call them, um, led me to do a documentary about wellness. When my mom got sick, I wanted to figure out what was going on with her. I wanted to
Okay.
figure out how I could help her. And so my background in business was in 1990, I started in holistic healthcare.
Mhm.
The family I grew up in was all on the allopathic side, medical doctors, that kind of
Okay.
thing, nurses. And I loved it. It just wasn't the right fit for me.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
I wanted to study more the holistic way of healing. So
Mhm.
I started doing energy work and massage and that kind of thing because I love talking to people.
Mhm.
And then that brought me to doing voiceover work and acting. Um, it just sort of happened that way, and then filmmaking and directing, and so yeah. Then my mom gets sick. I
Mhm.
started doing a documentary about wellness called
Mhm.
Truth Seeker. And while I was filming, I started not feeling well and I kept gaining weight and I couldn't figure it out. And it had been sort of slow over time, but now I'm looking at it and hearing about wellness and what that looks like. And I'm like, I haven't felt well in a really long time. What is going on? And so I did every test under the sun, including a health history with 23andMe. And
Mhm.
on camera, I get my results back. And
And real quick, can you explain what 23andMe is
yes,
for those who don't
so
know?
there's a lot of ways to learn about your family, even if you don't know who they are, your health history over time. Um, you can do a DNA test and they check all the family that has done a DNA test within that company. If it's Ancestry, it has to be from Ancestry, or from 23andMe, it needs to be through 23andMe. So that your genealogy and your ancestry for 500,000 years. Learn about why your body digests the way it does. So I wanted to understand metabolically what was happening in my system. Why wasn't
Mhm.
I able to process food and process medication? And on camera, I found out that I wasn't related to my dad. Um, which was a big missing link in my entire life. And what that really, the words I'm using, because there aren't any, so these are my words, is identity level trauma. That's what I feel like I went through when I found this out. My whole identity was wrapped up in being a Ben-Asher, being part of my family.
Mhm.
I really felt like the floor dropped out. And so learning about this and processing it, and the beautiful thing is I had done 9 years of research on healing doing this
Right.
documentary for my mom, so I had all these tools, and I still did a nosedive into nachos and Reese's Pieces. From being truthful, it just, when you're in an active trauma, everything goes out the window. and
Mhm.
and so what I came to was my purpose, through all of this, because I kept feeling messages coming in like, you need to share this, which is also my nature, right? I love
Right.
to learn and share and learn and share, and whatever, sharing people like you. And this is also how I met you, Sean, because
Mhm.
I wanted to speak to my parents. I had a couple of bones to pick, and I had some questions.
Right.
And I wanted clarity and I wanted closure. So I found you, Sean, so that I could have that conversation, and it was so beautiful and important. And
Well,
also,
and it's one aspect where you would bring in an alternative approach, such as
right,
mediumship, and that's what you're speaking of how we
right,
work together. So you were able to gather this physical information that put some of the pieces together of
yes,
who am I, right?
yes,
But you still had questions, and because the people that you wanted to ask were deceased, the research part of it had to be taken to another level. So when you
yeah,
connect with a medium who can talk to people across the veil, you can actually ask about affairs and how
everything,
you everything, how you can relate to one person but can't relate to the other person who's
yeah,
supposed to be your mother or father, but things just aren't matching up. And so thankfully you were open enough to connect with someone like myself so that you could get answers across the veil that would actually match up with the physical biological information that you were getting from your research and the 23 and me information, and
yes,
you could put the two together. And so talking about breadcrumbs, what happens then when you fast forward and you connect all the dots, purpose is revealed. And
right,
so, right? And so what I love is as you're telling your story, purpose, the breadcrumbs of your purpose were being delivered from birth. I don't feel right. I feel like the black sheep. Well, because you are, and we'll
right,
reveal that to you soon. And then the health factor came in to where you actually needed to figure out what was going on with you, which opened the can of worms,
yes,
right? So when you went down the route of 23andMe and you really realized, oh, wow, my father, who is not my biological father, who I thought is really someone else, you connect with me, it opens up the can of worms even more, but it brings you closure and healing and understanding. And when you get to that space, you kind of expand and go, oh my God, I need to share this with others because other people go
absolutely,
through this, right?
yes,
And your
absolutely,
purpose, like let's just say your purpose was a flower, your purpose is now unfolding and unflowering in this beautiful bright way to say, well, no wonder I'm a truth seeker. No wonder I had to personally go through this so that I could
yeah,
help people who also go through this realize that this happens and that, you know what, you can survive it. And here's
and
the silver
thrive,
lining. Here's the silver lining. You can thrive through it, right? And it actually is probably a component of living on
absolutely.
purpose,
For
right?
me, what I know now is that everything was a message, right? And because I leave no stone unturned is how I found you, right? Because even if I wasn't a spiritual being, I'd still want to try working with someone like you with your abilities to see what else I can find out. But if it's like a brick at the head, right? Like
right?
we're getting messages and we're not listening, or we're running away, which
Or
is
you're not ready. You're just
right,
not ready to
which
put
is
all the pieces
okay,
together,
right?
right?
But being as a child, I felt other, I felt different, and I didn't know what it meant. I wasn't ready, right? I didn't know what it meant, but I felt I had this feeling I was aware of, which is the first step,
And
right?
that's the pull.
Right,
That's the part of life purpose where your spirit will not let you miss the boat. They're going to
right,
deliver little pulls along the way to see
yes,
what juncture you're at or
right,
to help you get there, right? But there's a deep calling within your soul that knows I'm here for a reason. I just got to figure out what that is. And that's
right.
what you're talking about.
Yeah, and so and cut to 20, 30 years later, my body starts to get sick and break down because I'm ignoring and pushing away. And so as soon as I found out what it was for me, my identity, and that my dad wasn't my dad, finding that I had three brothers, finding my dad, my biological dad, knowing now who I am, and putting all that together, the illnesses that are all going away, everything is clearing up because that message was received and acted on.
And this journey that you are on from A to Z, okay, that is part of purpose.
Yeah,
The journey of purpose is a journey. It's not a destination. It's not a thing that you can
right,
purchase or pick up. It involves multiple aspects of life. And typically, as yours was, physical diagnosis of not feeling well, and then the icing on the cake, which is doing the 23andMe and realizing that your core family and who you identified with is actually not the truth, or it's different than what you were told.
right.
That catalyst right there was the icing on the cake that actually helped your flower start unfolding. And so things come into our lives that are traumatic,
Right,
that will change. They're game changers, and some of them are great and some of them don't feel good at all, but they are all related, I believe, to why you're here, what you're here to learn at a soul level, what you're here to utilize in your experience of
mhm,
life to make a difference in the world, right?
yeah,
And so when you are broken and you're hurt, like when you're going through loss, for example, loss of a loved one, all you want to know is that it has meaning,
right,
that you have meaning. There's a reason, there is a purpose to your pain. And so you want to find what that is, and you'll do anything because it's extremely uncomfortable.
right,
But there's a process that you have to break down, which is what I'm going to teach in this masterclass, of trying to figure out where you're at in the process, because there
right.
are certain things that you have to do to get to the point where you're at right now, where you can deliver your message to the world and start living on purpose. And so the beauty of your experience that I absolutely love, and I have to pay attention to this, is so you've been in film and industry for a really long time. And the way your purpose unfolded was doing a documentary about wellness with your mother, and then it ended up turning into actually working on a docu-series that you're in the middle of right now, in a podcast series, well, which I'll let you talk about that here in a second. But using your career, if you will, what you were here to do, using that to deliver the message of what's going to make a difference in the world for people, and being able to see how that was all tied into the catalysts of your health issues and ultimately loss of loved ones.
Yes,
And so you can see how life in general, your soul, what you crafted before you even got here, and putting things into place, you being in film, you being adopted and not even knowing it, right? And then bringing those two together to deliver a bigger message to the world that can change and transform lives on a powerful level.
Thank you.
Those things were already being put into place unbeknownst to you,
Right.
right? And as you move through the healing, the recovery, the grieving process, and got your mind straight, and you did the healing on a heart level through some mediumship sessions to fill in the blanks, if you will. Now you're in a state of mind where you're like, okay, game on. Let's share this with the world and change people's lives in a big way. And so a
Right.
lot of people, when they think, I know I have a purpose and it's a big purpose, or they want it to be a big purpose, it doesn't matter what size your purpose is.
Yeah,
What
it's
matters,
irrelevant.
it big or little. What matters is that you're willing to step into it and live life on purpose, because you will be placed exactly where you need to be placed in the exact right time,
Yeah.
with the right person, or the right catalyst or spiritual storm to happen for it to unfold, right?
Yes, what I now know is that curiosity is a message, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I was doing the research for my mom, I wanted to know more about her nutrition. So I went back to school for integrative nutrition. That's pretty extreme, right? For a filmmaker to go back to school. Normally they would just get some bullet points, right?
Right.
But
But
I felt like I had to, so I did. And so that made me a certified health coach. And I wanted to understand why she believed she wouldn't live. So I wanted to understand mindset and belief change and NLP, the way the neural pathways work in the brain, to find out why we believe what we believe and how to unravel that when we need to, right? And when to let it go. So I went back to school and became an NLP practitioner and studied belief change work and mindset. And I even studied feng shui, which is sort of like acupuncture for your space. Because when you're in a trauma or you've had these things happen, if you move some of the things around you, it changes the energy, and that really can be beneficial.
absolutely, it
Yeah, or
can.
harmful. So I wanted to know more. So every time I wanted to know more, it was almost like you're being pinched, right? And
Yeah, it's like the universe tapping on your shoulder saying,
yeah,
okay, this is
gotta
part
know,
of your
gotta know.
purpose, even though you don't know yet.
Right. And I had no idea why, as a filmmaker, I needed to know all these things. But now I work with people who have had an identity trauma, and we're doing it as a docu-series. I'm doing it with a past Surgeon General, which is exciting.
Yes.
And we're doing a podcast about it, writing books about it, and all of these things that I didn't know what I would do with are now important to what I'm doing. Coaching clients, whether I'm doing a movie or working with clients that I love. And you were definitely a piece of my journey for sure.
Absolutely. And we're going to be doing more work together.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
I'm excited.
Sean is going to be on our show and in the podcast, and as a resource for people who have done a DNA journey, and have had loss, for a mother or father or siblings, and
Mhm.
like me want to have some resolve or understand, or
Mhm.
because one of the things we find out is that we're never going to know exactly what happened and why, and there's a lot of feelings that come up about this, but having someone like Sean, who's such a powerful medium around, is even if it's not your grasp in the world, even if you don't
Mhm.
get it, what she does, you don't have to, right? There's just a part where you can surrender and just trust
Mhm.
and see what it is, and it's amazing. And so yeah, I'm so grateful to have you on our team.
Thank
It's
you.
so good.
Well, it's an additional resource that you
Yes,
can put in your spiritual toolbox, right?
right,
To
in
help
any
you,
toolbox.
any toolbox,
Yeah,
to help you find answers to put the pieces together. You can have a trauma in your life, and it can be a catalyst to help you move into living on purpose,
yes,
or it can be a catalyst to a downward spiral that will eventually get you to living on purpose, but it's a sidetrack. And so if you want to really fast track what you're here for, there are some steps that you want to put into play, which is recognizing everything that led up to where you're at right now, understanding the silver lining in the catalyst, which is some sort of trauma or change that is there for your soul to develop and expand upon, making sure that you do what you need to do so that you can get in the right state of mind to step into purpose when it shows up. That's working with a mentor, that's educating yourself through masterclasses, which what I do, and coaching, which what you do, it's educating yourself about what you're going through, how you can use it to your benefit so that it doesn't break you. And then once you move to that state of mind where you've pulled through the heaviest part of it, and you can go, okay, now let's make sense of it all. Now let's put it to work for a good reason so that I can make sense out of what I went through and make it matter in the world, make a difference in the world. That's the step-by-step process, which I teach in this masterclass, that I want you to have a takeaway, because you are here for a reason.
Absolutely.
Whether you believe it or not, whether you were born into a different family than you call your biological family or not,
Right.
The universe has a plan. You crafted a divine plan to put you exactly in the right place at the right time. And so when I hear people say, what's my reason for living? I've got to be here more than just, having to deal with grieving the loss of my 3-month-old child because we were hit by a drunk driver. There's got to be more to it than that.
Right.
Absolutely. There's more to it than that. And that moment, that catalyst is a piece of the pie, of the puzzle piece that is there to get you where you need to be, but you can't do it alone. You just absolutely can't. Right.
Well, the even bigger point is that you don't have to.
Yes.
You are here doing this work, which is beautiful and I think divinely planned, right? And as am I. And what I know also is that our is our message. And if anybody out there has been told, why can't you let it go? Why won't you move on? Like, why are you still in it? It's because there's a message in there for you that is yours to now share with other people. And not everyone around you will get that, right?
That's true. It's not theirs to get. You're in it. And like I said, when you're in the throes of grief, you do have a purpose, and I'm going to divulge that purpose in this masterclass. And it's very different than life purpose, right?
Yes.
But it is a huge component, if not the secret sauce or the key, to your life purpose. And if you miss it, if you avoid it, if you run from it, if you deny it, if you refuse to walk through the fire, you are not going to get the key to open up your life purpose, as your big life purpose as a whole that you're really searching for, right?
And it brings you happiness once you do. And
freedom.
What I love about having a guide going through these processes, because being a coach, I have a coach, right? And I have people like you in my world and on my team and as a resource, because I don't have to be good at all things. I can be good at the things that I'm good at. I'm not you. I don't have your gift. I haven't been at it as long as you. I don't know what you know. I need you. Right.
Well, and everybody has their place, right? I mean, this is my purpose. I knew from 8 years old what my purpose was going to be. And it just happens to be what I do for a living. And it hasn't come without those breadcrumbs, right? But one thing I've always taught as a spiritual entrepreneur, when you're willing to hire the expert to help you through something that you're not an expert at, it's a fast track.
Absolutely.
And you can sit and swirl in your pain or your grief or whatever you're struggling with as long as you want. You have free will. There's no judgment. You can try to do it on your own. But if you really want to move through the pain and reach the ultimate level of freedom and peace and comfort, hire that expert to help you move through that. And it doesn't mean you have to work with them forever. An expert can be a masterclass. An expert can be a coach. It could be a book. It could be a whatever.
Not everyone's path is the same, and there is no judgment on the way anyone perceives or works through trauma or loss or whatever that thing is that left you feeling
broken.
People like us are here to pull you up, and even if we're not the right choice, the right person might be out there for you. So And I've had friends that are not open, like don't have an open spiritual side that they're aware of, that have gone to her, that had huge success. And I just highly recommend it. It's fascinating, if anything,
Thank you.
right? I mean, it's
Mhm.
fascinating, it's mind blowing, and it's life changing. But as someone like me who's a truth seeker, I want to know, I want to try everything. But now I think of Sean as foundational. Now Sean is not the last thing I'll try. Sean is the first thing I'll try.
Oh, thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
for that. And she's referring to a mediumship session, which is
Yes.
definitely a component of my work and life purpose that I do, in addition to helping people through challenging times, helping people see that there is light at the end of the tunnel, whatever you're going through, whether
Right.
it's the loss of a loved one or a divorce or depression, or it just doesn't matter. The spiritual realm, which includes your guides, your loved ones, the angelic realm, they want to play a part in your life. And I am a voice to deliver that message
Yes.
for them to you. That's certainly a component. But classes such as this, which is the master class is called Finding Purpose After Loss, is really there to educate you on a bigger, deeper level, that there are two phases to helping you find purpose after loss. One is identifying what your purpose is when you're in the throes of still grieving.
Yeah.
The other is how that to understand how that key component relates to your life purpose on a bigger scale. And so the umbrella of all of that is so that you can live life on purpose, which is my message about this interview and about this masterclass. So Judy, I want to thank you for joining me today to share with others the importance of understanding that a catalyst in your life shows up in a pretty package, an ugly package, but it's there, right? To kind of open up you to the importance of what you're here to do this lifetime. And it's going to pinch you, like you said, or tap on you, and you can choose to listen or not. If you don't, then a huge catalyst or spiritual storm will happen, because, like I said, your spirit is not going to allow you to miss the opportunity to step into purpose. And you can learn it the easy way or the hard way. Not saying that a loss of a loved one is your choice of having to learn it the hard way, but when you are on track and you're ready to step into that, things like these that we're talking about happen.
Exactly.
And you don't have to do it alone. You're not meant to do it alone. So I would really love to encourage everyone to join me for this masterclass. It's on August 9th at 6:30 Mountain Standard Time. The cost of it is $97, which is priceless in comparison to what you're going to get from this course. The healing and the information, wisdom and insight. And so I really encourage you to not only join me yourself, but to share this with other people who you think it would make a difference for. So do you have any final words before we wrap it up here,
I was
Judy?
just going to say, they always say whenever there's sort of any suffering, one door closes when a window opens or something like that. And it's really true that, and it's also choice, that if you're suffering in darkness, you can open the curtain, so to speak. There are people available to you. Sean is here for you. I'm here for you. And this course is something that you will have forever. And I think it's just such an exceptional thing to learn and have in your toolbox. And I'm just grateful to be part of this journey for you. And I'm grateful, and I'd love to meet everybody that ends up showing up and hear how it went for you. And
Absolutely.
thank you, Sean, so much for having me.
Thank you, Judy, for coming. So everybody, I hope that this was helpful. I hope it gave you something to really think about. I hope it encouraged you to really take your healing and your forward movement into your own hands and empower you to help yourself and to make a difference in the world. Thank you. If you'd like to get in touch with Judy to ask about her experience, her upcoming podcast, the docu-series Truth Seeker that we talked about, or if you are interested in working with her more about the DNA integration and alignment, because you have a trauma identity crisis that you've been through on any level. She's an absolute expert in the field. You've heard her story. She has been through and on the front lines of her own experience. So
Yeah.
definitely reach out to her, and I will link her information below as well. So thank you.